Ubisoft are releasing their new game, Star Wars Outlaws. A controversy has arisen about a female character being a little on the unattractive side, part of an ongoing debate as to whether game developers are deliberately making female characters plain out of some kind of principle to do with feminism. The character of Kay Vess was based on the model Humberly Gonzalez. I'm sure whatever the character looks like will be fine after being filtered through 100 layers of skewed and prissy identity politics. This freaky harridan looks like Gary from Team America World Police. She looks like Kristen Stewart if she were wearing a wig made out of Wookiee pubic hair and had botched facial reconstructive surgery after a car crash. She looks like Robert Zadar simultaneously experiencing coke bloat and the swelling of a massive allergic reaction.
What's wrong, Echo Chamberlain? You don't find me attractive? Why don't you come to Mama? Give me some sugar, baby. Kissy, kissy.
Back in the day, when Mass Effect Andromeda was released, fans accused game developer BioWare of making all the female characters ugly, while male characters looked just as dashing as their real-life models. The character of Sarah Ryder was based on model Jade Rossi. What sort of digital transformation did she undergo? She looks like the plain Jane girl at school you turn to as a last resort when your original ball date pulled out. She looks like Dylan Mulvaney got drunk on Bud Light and accidentally took steroid and testosterone supplements. It's like looking at a special needs Anne Hathaway. Then there's Horizon Forbidden West. The character of Aloy is based upon the likeness of Dutch actress Hannah Hoekstra. Let's contemplate how her rendering went. It's like Amy Schumer crossed with Obelix. It's like if Pippi Longstocking grew up into a butch lesbian. It's as if Ginger Spice had swum in the shallow end of the gene pool. Feminism's gone a bit mental these days. There's what Despot of Antrim calls Schrodinger's feminism, which means a variety of feminism can be applied to a situation depending on how it suits. There's postmodern feminism, all about claiming female sexuality, which might, for example, see pole dancing as affirming ownership. Then there's hostile takeover feminism, where existing franchises with male leads will be co-opted and swapped out for a lady. And if you find this lazy or dubious, then you must be a reactionary, projecting their insecurities. And, in our case, there's also lowest common denominator empathy feminism, where beautiful women are not only problematically dated as objects of the male gaze, but problematic for the self-esteem of mainstream women, who might be a bit portly and plain and feel marginalized and lacking visibility, and are more liable to be discounted by men if easily brainwashed dudes are fed a constant diet of curvaceous babes in video games. But fear not, because Microsoft are to the rescue, doing their part to make the medium pristily regulated by releasing a new product inclusion guide for video game developers, which suggests that creators abstain from depicting sexualized or unrealistic female characters within their works. Their recommendations fall into several handy categories. The guidelines ask, are you reinforcing any negative gender stereotypes? Are you unnecessarily introducing gender and gender barriers into your code or design? Are your female characters equipped with clothing and armor that fits their tasks? Do they have exaggerated body proportions? When the story allows, do you show male characters who display a full range of emotions, including joy, sadness, and vulnerability?
You are boring me to death, and I am already dead. You're boring me back to death.
Let's establish some alternative Microsoft developer guidelines that might actually make them some money. In making a character, are you doing an indulgent self-insert? Are you trying to normalize and promote mundane versions of the female form? Are you taking actions liable to make the audience feel patronized and alienate them as paying customers? Are you promoting unrealistically unhealthy body types and trying to frame them as empowered? Are you approaching game development with a predominant interest in identity over more primary considerations such as originality, storytelling, dialogue, and a visceral experience? These characters aren't real. They're fantasy characters with ludicrously exaggerated proportions, including super shredded dudes. It's not meant to be like the real world. It's escapism. Upon making and releasing their plain iterations of characters, the developers and their helpers in gaming media will attempt to gaslight the audience with phrases such as, "You've never seen a real woman, virgin porn addict." However, they are the ignorant ones, because they have a muddled conception of what sexual drive is. That it isn't malleable and able to be regulated or conditioned to abide by some notions you have in your head about how men ought to innately feel in terms of their sexual attraction to women. It's your social constructivist garbage approach and stultifying attitude that's the issue. Your idea that these young men's sexual appetites and drives aren't innate or hardwired, are in fact degraded by a crass patriarchal or chauvinist imprinting. And it's your responsibility and socio-culturally progressive task to take on the mantle of ushering young men away from those dated and distorted ways of contemplating women toward a more enlightened, empathetic, and sensual appreciation, one more aligned to the wider generality, because in your view those masses shouldn't be overlooked. Your approach is based on flawed ideology, and it's a total killjoy. Perhaps the worst instance of all this, you may remember, was the Dove body positivity ad, where a valiant female game character ends her shift and, in a meta twist, goes back to her dressing room and solemnly reflects on the hardships of unrealistic expectations and body proportions in her revealed everyday persona. Let's take that video, play it in reverse, and lo and behold, we have an inspirational tale of a flabby, unattractive chick feeling sorry for herself, who realizes that goals and life is hard, and you have to make compromises, but through striving, you can achieve betterment and acclaim. Which of those two is the best narrative to role model to young women? The developers behind the upcoming Stellar Blade revealed the real-life South Korean model they worked with in order to create the game's action heroine, Eve. The design of Stellar Blade's protagonist has dominated conversations, especially after the game's latest State of Play trailer. The developers admitted that special attention was given to Eve's backside, as that would be what players would be looking at the most during gameplay. They approached a South Korean model, Shin Jae-eun, about basing the game's protagonist on her. A video of Jae-eun being scanned for Stellar Blade's protagonist was posted online. The developers said they wanted to use her body as a reference to create the most attractive-looking body for players to look at. And nobody died.
Oh, Echo Chamberlain, you're so funny. I could spend all day listening to you. You're such a sweet man. Why don't 40% of your video watchers not subscribe? Why don't they ring the bell for notifications? Never mind, Echo. I love you more than them. I will be yours forever.